But it's all about connection, and it's all about connecting to other human beings.
Welcome to WatchMojo UK, and today we're looking at celebrities who ended their own careers.
We were in it together. We laughed our socks off about it.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Number 10. Roxanne Pallet.
My mind ran away with me. I am a sensitive person, only my family and friends can vouch for that.
Though she left Emmerdale in 2008, Pallet's career steadily continued. She appeared on various reality shows and had a reliable presence at pantomimes up until 2018, when she was on the final series of Celebrity Big Brother, until its ITV revival. Infamously, she accused fellow housemate Ryan Thomas of punching her, ending up in the diary room in tears and eventually leaving the show.
In the moment, it felt worse than it was. I can't prove a feeling. I can't show you a feeling.
When she left, however, she realised that the whole thing had been caught on camera, obviously, and that she was now public enemy number one. Ever since Punchgate, all work has dried up for Pallet, despite her publicly apologising over and over again.
I massively apologise to not just Ryan, to his family, his friends, his fans, every single person that watched that.
Number 9. John Cleese.
Mentioning cancel culture is the best way of geeing people up, and that guarantees they won't switch channels.
What's John Cleese been doing lately? Well, he hasn't really been making comedy, that's for sure. While other former Pythons like Michael Palin remain beloved in the public eye, Cleese has been making some strange choices, such as vehemently supporting Brexit, but then jetting off to live in the Caribbean, despite Leave winning the vote. He now spends his time presenting shows on GB News and trying, but continually failing, to revive Fawlty Towers.
I know that you're particularly interested in talking about cancel culture. I think it's fair to say.
He's been saying for years now that a new series is in the works, though he equally seems to be convinced that if more episodes do get made, cancel culture would come for him.
That raises children who are not perhaps very well going to adapt to the real world.
Number 8. Richard Bacon. His career has certainly picked back up in recent years, but that didn't stop this infamous 1998 incident from completely shattering his life for a while.
Do you remember Fred and Frida, the tortoises on Blue Peter?
Yeah.
Big white lines.
What, he gave them Coke?
I didn't give any tortoises Coke, right?
The News of the World broke the story that Richard Bacon had been seen taking illegal substances and was promptly dismissed from Blue Peter mid-series, with the BBC making a public apology to viewers at home over how inappropriately he'd behaved.
One of the Sunday newspapers reported that Richard Bacon, a Blue Peter presenter, had taken an illegal drug. Richard admits that he has done this, and that he very much regrets it.
Like the BBC bosses, the nation was very disappointed in Richard Bacon, and he was probably disappointed in himself too, since it cost him his job and his Blue Peter badge. He has since returned to regular presenting, and years later, re-received his Blue Peter badge.
But there was also some sad news. You'll no doubt have heard that Richard is no longer on the programme.
Yes, he agrees he had to leave, and like you, we are really going to miss him.
Number 7. David Walliams.
A long, long time ago, 4 judges, including one very handsome one, let's call him David, set off on an epic journey around the country.
While his career as a children's author is, somehow, still going strong, a lot of television work has dried up for Walliams in recent years following his unceremonious dismissal from Britain's Got Talent. In fact, he hasn't appeared on TV since it happened, when a recording of him making derogatory sexual remarks about a contestant on the show was leaked.
In one instance, he called an elderly performer the C word 3 times.
He's since taken production company Fremantle to court over data privacy issues, but it seems unlikely that he'll appear in any remotely family-friendly shows, which BGT is, in the near future. Perhaps some people are less disappointed by this than others, but Walliams was a beloved entertainer and presenter for years.
The comedian is seeking significant damages from production company Fremantle following the decision to drop him from the ITV show in November last year.
Number 6. Graeme Lahan. He's had quite the descent into madness in recent years, despite once being one of the country's most popular comedy writers, penning both Father Ted and the IT Crowd.
I love thinking about that operation that you had.
He's become absolutely rabid about the trans community, going as far as to prove that trans women are men in dresses by himself dressing up as a woman and trying to use a dating app designed for women, which then blocked him. He's now begun to engage in anti-vaccine rhetoric and climate change denial, and has become so obsessed with online culture wars that his wife left him in 2020 and he's lost all his friends.
You know, I've made friends all through my career, and not a single one of them stood up and said, hang on a second, you know, Graeme Lahan is not a bigot.
Most recently, he was arrested and charged with harassment and criminal damage, soon to stand trial. Number 5. Andrew Neil.
Well, I had always made it clear it wouldn't be a British Fox News. And I think you could do something different without going anywhere near Fox.
He was one of Britain's most respected journalists, known for his ferocious interviews against senior politicians, with a storied, decades-long career in both print and broadcast news media. But in 2020, he announced that he was going to leave the BBC to start a primetime show on GB News, of which he was also a founder. But after only a fortnight, he went on hiatus and, 3 months after the channel's launch, resigned.
What I didn't want it to become, I could see it was happening, which is why I left almost immediately, was an outlet for bizarre conspiracy theories or anti-vaxxers.
He said he didn't like the direction GB News had gone in, even though nobody else seemed surprised at the type of channel GB News is, and came back to mainstream television with his tail between his legs.
The differences were such that the direction they were going in was not the direction that I had outlined. It was not the direction that I had envisaged for the channel.
Number 4. Leslie Grantham.
This, my sweet, is a letter from my solicitor telling you that your husband has filed a petition for divorce.
Who knows what Grantham was thinking when he turned on his webcam that day and did this?
I know you've had your bonding session with Chrissy. Well, if you can get over it with her, why not me?
He maintained for the rest of his life that he'd been stitched up, and though the details are unclear, it looks as though there might have been some truth to this, and that the person on the other end of the web call was a journalist.
It's the big, grand, dramatic exit with the suitcase, and then somehow we're back together a few months later.
No, you have betrayed me once too often.
While behaving lewdly on a webcam isn't the end of the world if you think the person you're calling is up for it, the bigger issue was when he started mocking his EastEnders castmates. Living up to Dirty Den's reputation, Grantham was ruthless with the show's big stars and was written off for good by February 2005.
Happy Christmas, Aean.
Number 3. Aean Holmes.
Have you never thought of making a business of it?
In what aspect?
Charging for it?
Another broadcaster who turned coat and went off to GB News is Aean Holmes, though he's lasted a lot longer over there than Andrew Neil did. Despite years presenting television in Northern Ireland and then in England over on ITV, during the pandemic he bit the hand that feeds. He said during a segment about vaccine skepticism that we shouldn't just believe what science says, which led to discord between him and the bosses at ITV.
But what I don't accept is mainstream media immediately slapping that down as not true when they don't know it's not true.
He and Ruth Langsford were eventually dropped from This Morning, and he began giving GB News exclusive interviews about how much he hated ITV and his co-stars, eventually joining as a presenter. He and Ruth separated in 2024.
Just before we move on, I'd just like to thank people for your support for Ruth and I over the last few days as to the news of our separation.
Number 2. Neil Gaiman.
Like, you spend enough time with your fans and they really know you and they really like you and they really trust you.
In 2024, allegations began to trickle in about beloved author and comic book writer Neil Gaiman. It started slowly, with an investigative podcast interviewing fans who had met him at book promotion events, who were later subject to non-consensual acts. Though the rumbles had been enough to get Good Omens put on hold, the revelations truly came out in 2025 after a New York Magazine article detailing extensive allegations from Gaiman's former nanny, Scarlett Pavlovich.
I realise I'm signing books for people who were not born when Sandman #1 came out.
Chillingly, She alleged that many of these distressing incidents happened in the same room as Gaiman's son. He's denied it, but Pavlovich is now suing him for human trafficking and sexual assault. All the companies with which he had ongoing projects have now dropped him.
I had all these cool stories in my head and I hoped we wouldn't get cancelled before I told them.
Number 1. Hugh Edwards.
Hugh Edwards was the BBC's highest paid newsreader, fronting first the 6 o'clock news and then the news at 10.
Nobody expected a scandal like this from Hugh Edwards, the BBC's most reliable and highest paid news presenter. He was the man trusted with announcing the death of the Queen to the nation, only for his career and life to come crashing down after The Sun published a story about misconduct with a teenage boy. He eventually resigned from the BBC for good, but only months after he'd been arrested and charged with making indecent images.
But Hugh Edwards hasn't been on our screens for a year, following reports in the Sun newspaper claiming he'd paid a young person for explicit images.
In July 2024, this was revealed publicly. Edwards had his day in court, pleading guilty and receiving a suspended sentence. His wife has reportedly filed for divorce, and he's been ordered to return £200,000 to the BBC, the money he was paid while suspended.
The BBC is facing questions about why Hugh Edwards, having been suspended, remained on a full salary and had a £40,000 pay rise.
Let us know in the comments which celebrity downfall disappointed you the most.
I got it wrong.
Yeah.
I really got it wrong.
Let's have a